Not those kinds of hockey series. Okay, how is this your favorite book? Did not expect it on. Okay, rereading that, I like that energy. Despair is happening. Hey guys, it's me, Jess, and welcome back to Rich Girl Book Club. It's been a minute since I made one of these videos, besides a couple vlogs that I made in the fall, but really excited to talk about my top books and my reading wrap for 2025. So, before I get into it, if you're new here, I'm Jess. Welcome to Rich Girl Book Club, and I talk about book content, finance content, and then some other random things that come up. I'm also planning a wedding, and I really want to do more wedding content before and after my wedding, which is this spring. All right, so let's get into it. 2025 is over, and I read 38 books this year. Let's say 39. I'm going to count 39 and let me explain. So book 39 was finished January 2nd. I read it from the end of the year into the new year. And then also my first book last year was a DNF, but I read a lot of it. So basically over 52 weeks, I would say 39, 40 books. Okay, I'm getting very technical here. Can you tell that I'm a data analyst? Anyways, 39 books. And I think 5 or 6 DNFs in 2025, and my goal was 40, and you know what, I'm gonna count that as being great. I also had a DNF during the week of Christmas, so I could have just pushed through and finished that book, but I didn't want to, so I didn't, and I want to move on to other books that I'm more excited about. So really excited about that, and 40 was my goal, and I knew that I was going to read slightly less than 2024. But 40 is great. I think I did 50 in 2024 and the year before that. So, in my head, I was doing different things in 2025 besides reading, and I did. So I'm really, really happy about that. Anyways, I do use Goodreads. So let's take a look at my Goodreads summaries. First off, what was the shortest book that I read? It was Sandwich by Catherine Newman. There was only 229 pages, so still a full-length book. I didn't read any novellas this year, any short stories. The longest book I read was The Conditions of Will by Jess Hastings. And then my average book length was about 348 pages. Sounds about right. The book that I read that was the most shelved on Goodreads this year was The Midnight Library, which was a top contender I'll be talking about. And I can't believe it took me this long to read it. I think it came out in 2020 or 2021. And over 5 million people shelved that on Goodreads, versus my least shelved or least read book being I Didn't Know I Needed This by Eli Rallo, which is an influencer online. And her book was pretty good, but her debut book, so can see why it hasn't been shelved that much. And my average rating in 2025 was 3.7 stars. I'm pretty happy about that. I think I used to just give books 4 and 5 stars if I read them and enjoyed it enough. So I've gotten better at having a consistent range in which I place the books that I read. I still don't really read any 1 or 2 star reads. I'll probably just not finish those, but I think that's fine. The book that I read that was the highest rated this year was My Friends by Frederick Bachman, with an average rating of 4.37 stars. Again, also one of my favorites, so I'm in the majority here with everyone. And I think that's it for my stats for Goodreads. Okay, next up I have stats from myyearinbooks.com. So it's essentially through Goodreads. You just go online and you upload your profile, and they give you some stats and a pretty little thing to post on your Instagram story. So did that, but I did have my top genres. So my top genre this year was contemporary. And thinking back, yep, that sounds right. Just a little surprised that it wasn't romance, because that's just my go-to genre that I always read. So contemporary, I read 26 books, romance was 20, and mystery was 12. I think I needed a break from mystery and thriller this year, so that all makes sense to me. My favorite author was Frederick Bachman. And then one more funny thing that this website will give you is your book aura. And my aura is coffee, contemporary, existential crisis. So that checks out as well. And you'll see as I go into my top 5 books. Let's get into it. All right, number 1 book of the year, my favorite book. I will say all my top 5 are all solid 5 stars. Really love them and everything. But the one that I have ranked at number 1 is The Wedding People by Alison Esbach. I think I'm saying that right. And this might even be a debut novel. I'm not sure, but The Wedding People. What do I even say about this book? I read it on Kindle, but I liked it so much that I now have a physical copy. So when I tell you the premise of the book, you're going to be like, okay, how is this your favorite book? But let me explain. So our main character is going through a very rough time. Things are not going great. Despair is happening. We are very sad. We are very, actually depressed. So what our main character does is she decides to go on this trip to this resort hotel area. Okay. And this hotel is supposed to only be the guests of this wedding that she's not a part of. She's the only person at this hotel staying there that is not there for the wedding. Something messed up with admin and she was able to book. So she gets there and she kind of realizes this. But she's like, I got this room, I'm staying here, deal with it. And they let her. So she's staying here and she is contemplating doing something very drastic, taking a very drastic step. Okay, look up trigger warnings. And she's really thinking about it. And it starts off really dark and really contemplative for this character. And then what happens is she kind of runs in contact with the wedding people. So she actually ends up being friends with the bride really quickly off the bat. And so she connects with her. She connects with some other people there for the wedding. And she starts putting off her plans a little bit. And she just really gets entangled with them. These characters are crazy. They all have a lot going on. The bride has a lot going on. You think that she's one way, and then you kind of discover through some other things that she is quite different and putting kind of a front up to everyone. So it's very interesting character development, very interesting story, and it really tugs you from very sad, despair, emotional, and then it pulls you right back and you're also laughing and cracking up because they go on these silly little adventures and stuff. And I think the book is based in Rhode Island, so you get to see some beachy scenes as well, or coastal vibes. So anyways, I'll leave it at that. And it's just very heartwarming and emotional, and there were some really good quotes in there as well. Then I would just highly recommend this book. I don't know why, I just can't stop thinking about it. Maybe it's because I relate to the character in some ways, and then I'm also planning a wedding, and I also love coastal energy and all that. So it was just the perfect combination of themes and location for a book for me to read in 2025. So that is book number 1. Book number 2, as already briefly mentioned, is The Midnight Library by Matt Haig. So The Midnight Library was I think it was one of the earlier TikTok books on Book Talk that kind of blew up in 2020 and 2021, and it came out around that time too. And I just never read this book, and I never really knew what it was about. I knew it was about a magical library, but I didn't know anything else from that premise. And so let me give you a little bit more to convince you to read this book. So you're gonna notice another theme that I'm just picking up on now. So again, our main character is unwell and battling with despair, and actually does take things to the end at midnight. She's having a horrible time. She has nothing left in her life. She lost her job, all these kinds of things. Okay, there's a lot going on for this girl, and she's at her wit's end. Actually, I'm speaking about it lightly for the review, but she doesn't do a good thing. Okay, so that happens, and she is given one more chance at life. Okay, she ends up in the Midnight Library. And when she gets there, there are books for all of the different versions of her life that she could have pursued. Okay. And this girl had a lot of crazy paths she could have pursued. So essentially what she's able to do is read that book, hop into that life, and see what it would have been like. And obviously there's an infinite amount of books, because there's an infinite amount of decisions that you can make in life that would lead you to this exact life that you're in right now. So that big question theme, very interesting to me. Okay, so that's the premise. there's a lot of like exploration. This one is, you would think this one would have been more sad and depressing, but it really wasn't. I listened to this on audiobook and it was really good on audiobook. I was able to like keep up with the different kind of versions of her life that we were in. It was, I guess, technically magical realism, right? Because this isn't something that can happen, and I love magical realism for some reason. I'm like obsessed with it. And so just seeing that exploration and like the conclusions that she comes to at the end of her midnight adventure is just amazing. And you need to read this. Again, amazing quotes, just completely a must read. And I think I did read it at the right time, but I kind of wish I would have read it earlier. I feel like it would have hit me in a different way earlier in the past couple years. All right, moving to book number 3, The Book of Doors. So continuing with the theme of magical realism here. So The Book of Doors is about a magical door. So we're in a magical library, now we have magical door. Our main character works at a library or a bookstore. She works at a bookstore, I want to say. And she has an elderly customer that's a regular, and he dies. He dies right in front of her in the bookstore. Okay. I'm not sure why all my book choices are so gruesome. Okay, whatever. We're moving on. He dies. He leaves a book. Right? Yes, it's a book. I don't know why I'm forgetting. That's literally the whole concept of the book. He leaves a book for her, okay? And she sees it and she's like, huh? Was this here before? What is this? Huh. And from there, the adventure that we go on is absolutely insane. Essentially, this book lets you open any door, okay? So you have this book, the Book of Doors, that's what it's called. And you're able to open any door and it'll take you wherever you want to go as long as you have been through that door before, okay? So I can imagine the door to my college dorm or something, and I can go through the door and I'm there, right? That is the concept of this book. And I don't want to give away too much because it's just like a crazy adventure that happens that we go through, and there's a theme in there of like time travel that's really interesting, more magical books, bad guys, good guys, and the ending and how things wrapped up was just so good. I love the main character. I thought she was really cool. She didn't do too many things that were like stupid main character or overly heroic energy, so I appreciated that. And I just highly recommend this book. This is one of the books that like anyone could read. We're gonna leave it at that. Book of Doors, I highly recommend. Moving on to number 4, My Friends by Frederick Bachman. All right, this book, I don't know how to explain it. Insert rant about Frederick Bachman and his writing. I can't even put it into words. Okay, he puts into words, but you can't put into words. I don't know how. But this man, okay, the way he writes, on the same page, you are like crying and emotional, but then you're also like uplifted and happy and laughing, okay? So we can tell that's something that I like. And the journey you go on, I can't even remember where it really starts, but there's essentially a painting, and there's a painter, there's the artist, and like there's 4, 5, there's people in the painting, and you discover their backstory, and you go on this whole adventure. Our main character is this homeless girl, I believe. I should really like review on like basic details about the books I read, but I just go off of vibes. And the adventure she goes on with the painting and the artist and everything involved, like I just don't want to spoil it, but it is so heartwarming and precious. And it's one of those books that like I don't even remember like all the plot points that happened, but like you remember the characters in it. It's pretty character driven, as most of his books are. And a side note there, his main series is Beartown, and I read the first 2 and I need to read the 3rd one, The Winners, in the Beartown series. And I just need to be emotionally ready for that. I need to be ready for that. But it is hockey season. It's a hockey series. Not those kinds of hockey series. But a different kind of hockey series. Okay, this is a side tangent. We need to go back to the list. Back to the list, number 5 of my top 5 books. And this one, did not expect it all. Divine Rivals, which, yes, very popular book, very enjoyed book, but I don't know, I was like, oh, I've like heard about this a lot, like I actually have no idea what it's about, but hey, let's give it a chance. And wow, oh my gosh, it was so good. So we have actually another theme, magic. So in this story, we have two writers. They work at the same publishing company thing. I don't know. The timeline is kind of vague in this book, but they work together. They're both writers, okay? And they both have magical typewriters. I'm trying to decide like how much to give away at first, but like you get there real quick. They both have magical typewriters, and the typewriters, when you write with the typewriter, you slide it under the door, it goes to each other. And so the main character thought she was sending letters to her brother who is in the war. There's a war happening during this time. And he was never responding because he wasn't getting the letters. This other guy was getting them. And they have this rivalry. And, okay, I don't like when we have the male and female main characters or the love interests. I don't like when they like actually hate each other and are like so mean to each other. This is not like that. This is very like other like coworker rivals, but like they're not actually rivals. Like they don't hate each other. Like they're just kind of like competitive rivals. Like I like that energy. So that's the energy, and all the information is not sure like who she sent letters to and all this kind of stuff. We end up in the world of the war, and a lot of stuff happens there, and I don't want to give away too much. So I really recommend, let's just say the romance is really good. The like fantasy elements of it. This one is definitely like fantasy. That's beyond magical realism. Like it's fantasy, I would say. Those elements are great. It's easy to follow the world building that's kind of happening. And it's just a great story. I haven't read the second one yet. I don't know how long the series is. Also, this is Divine Rivals by Rebecca Ross. I didn't say the author, but those are my top 5 books that I would highly recommend. Okay, those are my top 5 books of 2025 that I want to go through. Let's go through a couple more of my top 5 through 10, and I'm going to give a little bit less detail because I will ramble on. Okay, first 5-star read of the year was The X-Vows by Jessica Joyce. This is a romance novel. And this is what I put in my review. I can't put into words how much I relate to Georgia. This is Mirrorball plus This Is Me Trying, which are 2 Taylor Swift songs, and if you know, you know. And then I just put some quotes. All I hear is you won't be around if you're too much. It's an old fear, refresh on an endless spin cycle. Okay, rereading that, like, let's just say the female main character was what really had me in that one. I actually don't even remember the, like, romance plot. I just remember that female main character. Okay, another 5-star read is Yellowface by R.F. Kuang. And oh my gosh, again, this is a book everyone needs to read. It was so interesting and not what I expected at all. I knew the premise, where it's essentially this woman, her friend dies, and she takes her manuscript and she publishes it as her own, and things happen from there. The conversations in this book about humanity and race and society is just very important conversations, and highly recommend reading that book if you haven't yet. And then The Book of Doors was my next 5-star, and then The Wedding Atmosphere by Taylor Jenkins, read this year, and that's a shout out. I love this book, but I did read it on audiobook at 1.5 speed because I was finishing it for book club last minute. I know, I ruined it for myself. So anyways, this probably would have been a 5-star read. A character's amazing, the story, like when I think about 2025 books, I think about Atmosphere. It's just amazing. It's about, you know, women in society and male dominated fields, specifically like aeronautics. Like she's becoming one of the first astronauts, and her story and the like family dynamics and love dynamics, and you think it's going one way, it goes another. The insane ending, insane. You just really need to read Atmosphere by Taylor Jenkins Reads. Okay, Another 5-star read this year was Every Summer After by Carly Fortune. Yes, I finally dipped into this world, and these books were made for me, so I'm not really sure why I never read them. But I read this when The Summer I Turned Pretty was coming out over the summer. It was just the perfect energy of like two brothers, summer, you get the picture. That's all you need to know. And it was really good. I've gotten kind of critical on romance books, but this one was great. I loved the like childhood friendship neighbors, like little cutesy little crush, and they're like 12 and blah blah blah, and then they start getting older, and you know, it goes from there and stuff. Like, I just really loved that. It was like kind of a slow burning into love, and I thought it was so sweet and genuine and amazing, and I just really loved it. So highly recommend Every Summer After. Definitely read it in the summer though. All right, and those were all my 5-star reads this year. So I think I named like 9 or 10 books there. We'll leave it at that. Those were my top books for 2025 that I highly recommend that you read. Please subscribe and check out some more of my videos around reading. Next reading video will be around how to read more in 2025 if that is a goal that you have. I have some very tangible tips. Stick around, join the club, and I'll see you next time. Bye. I would highly recommend.